Senator Elizabeth Warren, welcome back to the Daily Social Distancing Show.
Thank you. It's good to be with you, sort of.
Sort of, and hopefully in person one day in the future.
Soon.
The country's changing, the country is growing. Let's just jump straight into the questions because you are in a position of power in the country, deciding a lot of where America is going to be going. I know you've got a new book, and that applies to some of the conversation we're going to have today. But let's start with the immediate question many people have: when does America go back to normal?
Oh, I think normal is going to change for us. Think of it this way, Trevor. Let's set the table here. What has happened in the last year? Global pandemic, a racial reckoning, an armed insurrection, a new president, and an historic rescue package that's been voted through. All of that, and that means change is everywhere. It's in the air. It's not about going back. It's about what normal is going to look like going forward. And it's more than just coping with a pandemic. It's that we have our toes on the line to make big structural change in this country. The book I wrote, Persist, the message is about the next 100 days. What we do in Congress, what we do as a nation to change the role of government and to change how we invest in each other and build a future that works not just for the billionaires and trillionaires that, by the way, made it through this last year just great, but how we make this country work literally for everyone.
Let's talk a little bit about the book then, Persist. We remember the origins with Mitch McConnell. You know, when we think about Persist, we think about Elizabeth Warren and many women who identified with that word because of a similar situation they had been in life or in work. You talk about this journey that you've been on. Let's start with your run for president. I found it really interesting that you critiqued yourself. You said, I didn't get the people out, and I'm paraphrasing you. You said maybe I didn't connect with them and I didn't sell my vision in the correct way for what I wanted to achieve. Why did you feel it was important for you to go back and criticize yourself when, I mean, the election's done? You could have just moved on like many other politicians and said, I lost because of these things and that's that.
I wanted to give an honest account about what it's like as a woman running for office. And I also talk in the book about what it's like as a mother, as a teacher, as a fighter, as a planner, as a learner. And the reason I do that goes back to where we started this conversation. America is in this amazing position right now. Most of the time, Trevor, the doors are locked. We can't make real change in Washington. But when you've got this much change, this much turmoil, this many things going on, the door opens up, not wide, but a little bit.
Right.
And so what this is about is what I bring. I tell the personal stories, what I bring to the fight for the kinds of changes we should make, but also how personal it is for everyone else, how getting this right or wrong will touch us in such personal life or death. What your life is like, not just right now, but what it's like in a year, in 10 years, and all the way out to your retirement. And that you have power right now. And the power starts with persistence.
It feels a little bit for many people that they don't have the power. You know, many voters will say, we stepped up, we came out, we voted, we got the people into power that we wanted into power, and now it seems like nothing can move. You know, we're told the Senate doesn't have the 60 that need, and we're told that this is not being moved here, and Mitch McConnell still has power, and people are like, how's that possible? I thought that was the point of voting. So how do you respond to these voters who came out and put the Democrats that they wanted in power, but now are being told, oh, we can't do things because there's this guy named Joe Manchin, for instance, and if he doesn't agree, well, then nothing will happen. How do you then have that conversation with people to keep them persisting when it can feel like their persistence doesn't amount to what it should?
Well, I start by saying you're right, that you aren't getting what you deserve. And this is why it is so important for Democrats to deliver. And I don't just say that publicly. In fact, I think you're the first person who's asked me about it. I say this over and over and over to the rest of the Democrats. We made a lot of promises to get here. We made a lot of promises to get Joe Biden elected. We made a lot of promises in Georgia to say, hey, Georgia, give us 2 more senators. But part of that means we cannot now be in the majority. I know it's a little tiny skinny majority, but it's a majority, and then turn around and say, oh, there's filibuster, so Mitch McConnell gets veto over any dang thing we want to do. That is not how a democracy works. And Democrats need to belly up to that reality. But on the basic, get the business of the people done, our founders said majority in the House, majority in the Senate, president signs it, that's now law. And that, in my view, is exactly what we've got to do. We got to deliver on the things that we promised the American people we would do, and deliver on things, by the way, that are popular with Democrats, popular with Republicans, popular with independents, like childcare, canceling student loan debt, a wealth tax, a tax on giant corporations. There are a lot of things we could do that would be big and that would show people how much it matters that they came out and voted.
When you look at some of the other issues America is facing, one of those issues has been the taxation of the ultra-rich, right? What's interesting about America, for me personally, is the rich have done a very good job in this country of making everyone believe that they are either richer than they are, or they are going to themselves become billionaires at some point, and so it is also in their favor to maintain taxation that is favorable to the rich. As Elizabeth Warren, how do you make it seem like you are not going against the idea of the American dream and taking away people's money when they've made a business that everybody uses, like Amazon or like Facebook? Or like many Americans would be like, you just want to take their money, but they worked hard for their money. Why should you take away their money from them?
So here's my pitch. You're a billionaire. You worked hard, you busted your tail, you made it big. Good for you. Great. I'm glad to hear it. But here's the deal. If you built a business here in America, you didn't do that all by yourself. You did it using workers all of us help pay to educate. You did it getting your goods to market on roads and bridges, all of us helped to pay for. You did it protected by firefighters, all of us help pay the salaries for. And we're glad to do it because we invest as a nation, as a people, in creating opportunities. So you got a chance to get out there and build this fabulous business. And now all we're saying is when you make it big, and I mean really big, for me, when you've got more than $50 million in accumulated assets, on your 50 millionth and first dollar and every dollar above that, pitch in 2 cents so everybody else gets a chance to make it. That's all this is about. You're still going to be so rich you could roll in it. You could go down in your basement and just, you could rub your shoulders with it. You could do whatever you want to do with your money. But 2-cent wealth tax, a little higher if you're a billionaire, your fortune, even if you don't lift a finger, your fortune is going to keep on growing. It's just not going to grow quite as fast. But the consequence will be that 2 cents from the very top, this one will knock you over. That'll produce $3 trillion in revenues over the next 10 years. Enough money for universal child care and early childhood education for every baby in this country. Enough money to revitalize all of our K-12 schools. Enough money to cancel that $50,000 of student loan debt, of putting real investments in our historically Black colleges and universities, and making all of our colleges tuition free and still have money left over. Just 2 cents. That's all we need.
Senator Warren, I could always talk to you forever. Luckily, we have a book for that. I hope everybody goes out and reads it. I think it's informative. I think it's vulnerable. And most importantly, I think it's really interesting. Thank you for taking the time to join me today. And good luck with Mitch McConnell and the rest of the crew in the Senate.
Thank you. I really